Hello everyone. So there was a question on the community today about test cases and delivering those test cases or doing testing in a sprint. Now the question is that imagine that you have a sprint, and within that particular sprint you have stories that you need to deliver. Now, as part of your goal, maybe you want to also perform testing in the same sprint. Totally fine. Maybe you want to make sure that whatever you're delivering, you're also testing it. So all the test cases should also pass, hopefully, I guess. So the point is that you're performing testing in the same sprint and you want to track it. Now, when you have test cases in Jira, it could be using X-Ray or Zephyr or any tool. Your test cases are linked to your stories because you want to say that, okay, this particular these test cases are for this particular story, right? So this is totally fine. But at the same time, if you want your test cases to also contribute to your sprint, then you should make sure that not only your stories are added to the sprint, but also the test cases should be part of the sprint, the same sprint. And maybe when you are performing those, test activities, it could be a simple issue test or maybe some issue type. If it is not added directly to the sprint, then it will be missing from the reports, and that is the question here. So the question here is that how can I ensure that my test cases are part of a sprint? Although you may have a link between stories and test cases. Sometimes, and this happens a lot, sometimes people just create a story for performing testing. And that is totally okay because within that particular story, you can have some subtasks, or maybe you want to have like a major activity called testing in the beginning that you can create with some estimate. And then you can, of course, track it with some story points. And that will, of course, contribute towards your burn down chart. Whenever you are performing testing, you're burning something, right? Again, there are multiple ways of doing it, but the main thing here is that whatever you're doing, a small activity or a big activity, if it is something that you can estimate or something that you can, something that you want to track, make sure it is added to the sprint in the beginning, like directly. You can, of course, do it from your backlog. Because this person is saying that all the test cases are in the backlog. So it means that they are standard issue types. Most likely, they are standard issue types. So you can definitely, drag those test cases under a sprint. Now, this has to be done in the beginning because, you can also do it later on because when you start your sprint, you commit something that you want to deliver. But later on, you can also add more items to the sprint, which is, of course, not ideal, but it happens. It is life. Because when you add something on top of your existing sprint, then your report will show you. And you will also get some indication on your board. Yeah, so a simple solution. And these things are actually very common. If you're using Jira for testing, you have to figure out in the beginning how you want to track it and how you want to plan it as well. Sometimes people use like a different sprint. I understand the concept of a sprint, that the idea is to deliver something or release something. You may not deploy it, but sometimes people do testing later on, like integration testing, like they check everything is working fine, or maybe just normal testing. So basically they wait for the very end. So they have like some later sprints for performing some testing later on, and maybe similar thing for UAT or maybe for further bug fixing. So it can happen. It depends on how you work, but the tool will allow you. Jira software will allow you to work in different ways. But you have to make sure that if you want to track something with some effort or story points, in case you're following story points, and you have to add it directly to the sprint. You can do it from the board itself, or you can just update the sprint field in your test cases. You can also do it in bulk, by the way. All right, that is it. That is all for today. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new. Thank you very much. Bye bye.